All right, Alexander, let's talk about the trip from the German Chancellor Merz to the United States to meet with Trump and to lobby Trump to green light the Taurus missiles. That's one of the reasons he was there. Another reason is for the sanctions. Basically, his entire reason to go to the U.S. is to get the Trump administration in the United States to escalate into a war with Russia. The German Chancellor goes to the United States in order to escalate a war with Russia. That was Merz. His purpose for the trip to DC. There were rumors that he was going to travel with Zelensky.
Yeah.
And it looks like that did not happen. But there were rumors say that Zelensky is going to hitch a ride with Merz to DC. It looks like that fell through. We did have Yermak in DC meeting with Kellogg. So the reception at the airport for Merz, not good. No one was really there to greet him from the Trump administration. The meeting in the Oval Office, it didn't look like it went too well. It looked like Trump was mocking, making fun of Merz. Germany has this, Merz has this idea that if he brings up World War II, for some reason it will win over the United States. He likes to talk about the Russian war and compare it, liken it to World War II, completely oblivious of the fact of Germany's role in World War II. And Trump called him out on that. He basically said that World War II, that didn't work out for you so well, because Merz was saying that we're going to have the anniversary of D-Day, and for this reason, we want you to escalate with Ukraine. And then Trump was basically telling Merz, World War II, I think you guys were on the losing side. And Merz understood that Trump was mocking him. Anyway, Trump obviously is not so fond of Merz. I think that came through. He did talk about rearming Germany, though, and Trump said it's a good thing to rearm Germany, but only to a point, because as MacArthur said, you don't want to rearm Germany. That's the biggest mistake you can make. So he also brought that up as well. Anyway, your thoughts on the dynamic and the vibe of the meeting between Merz and Trump? And
I thought it was hilarious, and I have to say it reminded me a little of those visits by Macron and Starmer back in February, the ones that culminated in Zelensky's visit, which, as we remember, blew up. I mean, they went to Washington trying to sort of softly win over Trump and manipulate him into giving guarantees so that they could deploy European troops to Ukraine. And Trump threw it right away and ran rings round them. And if you remember, he started to tease Starmer, especially at one point, asking Starmer, how long can you fight the Russians without us? Starmer's sort of pretending to laugh along, and you could see that he must have been inwardly seething about this. It had something of that quality as well. Obviously, Merz is a different personality. He's rather more flat-footed, if I have to be honest. But anyway, off he went to Washington, and you're absolutely right. He was going to go with Zelensky. About that, I have absolutely no doubt at all. There were lots of rumors about this. It was going to be an attempt to work on Trump to get him to authorize the launch of the missiles, the Taurus missiles. We've had this absurd story that Germany is helping Ukraine to develop long-range missiles, long weapons with long-range capabilities. We had then told that, no, these are not Taurus missiles that are going to be launched. They're actually going to be Ukrainian missiles that are going to be launched. So you said this is the most revolutionary industrial partnership that there has ever been. I mean, it's developed cruise missiles within a couple of days, apparently. So, I mean, it's just silly. It's the kind of nonsense that insults the intelligence at the end of the day. But anyway, they can't launch the Taurus missiles at Russia without American consent. These missiles use American components. They are dependent for American guidance data. It cannot be done without the agreement of the United States. And that was really one of the reasons why Merz went to Washington, to get Trump to sign off on that. And he also obviously wanted to get the Americans to back the big sanctions. You remember when Merz and Starmer and Macron and Tusk went off to Kiev? There was going to be the ultimatum that was, well, they did present an ultimatum to Putin. And they said to Putin, unless you agree to an unconditional 30-day ceasefire within 2 days, we will impose these massive sanctions on you. Then instead, Putin said, well, I'm not accepting ultimatums. I am prepared to sit down with the Ukrainians. And Trump came out and said, that's great. So why are we even talking about sanctions? So Merz wants to reel back to that. He wants to get back to that position where the Americans this time are going to impose the enormous sanctions on Russia, which are really 500% tariffs on China. It's a strange fact. Lindsey Graham admitted this. He actually admitted these are tariffs on China. They're not even sanctions on Russia at the end of the day. But anyway, that was partly what Merz was going to do. That was what Merz was going to do. Was he there to lobby for German national interests? Did he bring lots of industrialists with him to try to persuade Trump to ease off on the tariffs that are being imposed on the European Union, to try and persuade Trump that, industrial partnerships could be built between Germany and the United States, to try to persuade the Americans to take a more cooperative view of economic policy or of industrial policy or any of those kind of things? No, he didn't. All of that he's going to leave to the Commission, to Ursula, and to those people to negotiate for him. So he's not interested. It's, again, very much like Starmer at the end of the day. His ultimate priority is not German national interests. It is defeating Russia in Ukraine. This is Merz's obsession, to almost the same degree as it is Starmer's obsession. And Trump was having none of it. He teased Merz relentlessly throughout the meeting in the Oval Office. It doesn't seem as if they came away with any kind of agreements at all. Trump all but said, look, this is about war between Ukraine and Russia. There's only so much we can do. Sometimes you just have to let people fight it out between themselves. He clearly doesn't accept the big narrative that if the Russians win in Ukraine, they're going to march on Berlin or any of that. And as you absolutely rightly say, Merz was completely wrong. I mean, it's incredibly stupid to bring up the whole issue of the Second World War. Heavens knows what he thought he was doing. It just opened the way for Trump to tease Merz, which he did relentlessly and which he always does very well. He doesn't like the Europeans. He doesn't like Starmer. He has a kind of respect for Macron.
Macron is, there's something.
Something there. He gets on well with Meloni. He didn't like Merkel at all. A fact that he no longer makes any secret of. I don't think he likes Merz very much either.
Yeah, he does not like Merz. I think that came through. Why do the Europeans, especially Germany, why do they keep on going down the argument of comparing Russia to World War II Germany? It's such a losing argument.
Well, it's a losing argument if you have any knowledge.
It's a crazy argument.
It's a crazy argument. Crazy. I mean, if you have any knowledge of history, if you have any understanding of events, if you have any understanding of current events, it's absurd. But of course, these people are absurd. And it is their way of justifying to their own people the reckless policies that they're undertaking. The fact that instead of working to achieve peace in Europe so that they can work on the betterment of their people and of their societies, they're keeping Europe in a kind of war psychosis and talking about cutting spending and raising taxes so that they can rearm. So, I mean, it's the only real way, I think, that they can persuade people in Europe that there's some kind of analogous threat to Europe and that it justifies these kind of extreme measures. There's a great article, by the way, about this by Adam Tooze, an economic historian in the Financial Times, who makes the point that Europe already spends huge amounts on defense, more than the United States does in aggregate. And they're getting absolutely nothing in return, that their ability to produce weapons declines the more money they spend. And he's absolutely right. He says it very well. And he's, by the way, the person who's written the best single book about the German war economy. But of course, it's not really about producing weapons. It's not really about making Europe stronger militarily. Nobody really believes that's possible. A point, by the way, that too sort of concedes. It's all about pursuing different agendas. So that's why they bring it up all the time. They bring this up so that they can scare people across Europe with this idea that the threat from the East is coming. We got to keep them at bay. It's it's the Second World War all over again. So we can all pretend we're Churchill and we're all resisting the tide from the East. And of course, it's all nonsense.
I wonder if there's a bit of projection or a type of admission from the leaders of Europe that they're on the losing side. I wonder if a lot of the anger in and around this war, to a certain extent, is coming from the fact that this conflict in Ukraine, a part of it is Russia holding up a mirror to some of the forces of World War II that never really went away, and perhaps this bothers a lot of the European elite. I don't know. I'm throwing stuff out there because you know World War II history. You know these things much better than I do. But we are dealing with people at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of these people are not the most stable in the head, and perhaps they're very bothered at the fact that the dynamics of this conflict, a part of the dynamics of this conflict, is a reminder of things in the past.
There is absolutely
uncomfortable things in the past.
Absolutely, there is absolutely no doubt about that at all. I mean, in a profound way, they are betraying the legacy of the Second World War. The Second World War was fought in order to defeat forces that they're either strengthening within their own societies or which they're supporting in Ukraine. I'm being careful about what I say because we all know why. There's no doubt about that. And they do have a sense of anger with themselves and guilt about that too. And there is no question at all that they're furious with themselves for the fact that they're losing. They never expected that they would lose. The assumption that they all had, I remember, I've said this many times, I was watching them at the time of the February 2022 Munich Security Conference. They were not just confident of success, they took it for granted. They were in a state of, as I said, intoxication and euphoria over it because they thought it would be easy. They believed that within 3 months, they would have a government in Moscow that would do whatever they wanted. I mean, they were that sure. And of course, it's turned out otherwise. And with every day that the conflict continues, they lose more. They lose more ground. They're now frightened that the Americans are becoming disillusioned and may walk away, which makes the situation even worse. And of course, they're becoming more and more angry in consequence. And they're taking out a lot of that anger against the Russians.
Yeah. Does Trump green light the Taurus missiles?
I have to say, judging both from the conversation he had with Putin, which significantly took place just before he met with Merz, and what passed during the meeting with Merz, it seems very unlikely. In which case these missiles are there and they're going to collect dust. I don't think, though, we're going to hear the end of this story. I suspect that over the next couple of days, all the usual people, not just in Germany, but in Washington, will be back and they'll be working at Trump and they'll be saying, look, for heaven's sake, you've got to allow this. We'll look weak if we don't approve this. the Russians are advancing. We've got to find leverage. The Taurus missiles are the way that you get your leverage. You must support it. You must support the Germans. And I suspect that at some point, quite likely, Trump will approve this. This is what he always does. But I think that as of the time of meeting Merz, probably he said no. And the Americans also apparently made it very, very clear that Zelensky himself was not welcome. And we even had an article, I think it was in Axios, that Trump doesn't like Zelensky. What a surprise. And thinks he's a bad
New
person.
York Times.
New York Times. Yeah, exactly. And thinks he's a bad person and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Just a final thought. I don't know if you know this. Maybe military experts can let us know in the comments down below. Can these missiles be fired without the United States to an effect, to a successful? I mean, can these be launched without the U.S.?
I think they can be
targeting and satellite and
they can be launched, as I understand it, within the area, within Ukrainian territory, within the territory of the special military operation, because they could use GPS guidance.
Right.
They cannot reach targets inside Russia, pre-2014 Russia, because GPS doesn't work there.
Okay.
So they need to use a completely different guidance systems based on satellite data, which only the United and terrain guidance data, which only the United States has.
Yeah, true. Terrain. That's true. Yeah. That's the way these missiles operate. Okay. We'll end the video there. The Duran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, Telegram, and X. Go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch for the next 3 days, 25% off everything. Take care.